She who thrives. Phoenix rising. The true me. The ups and downs crazy in life. So take this journey with me. She who thrives. Yeah. Good morning, sunshines, and welcome to podcast She Who Thrives, a podcast about women who have faced different adversities in life and made it and became successful in their own right. And March has been about men. And this today is my third interview with a man. And I am excited because we grew up together in the same neighborhood, went to high school together. So I am excited because although he's a man now, I knew him when he was a boy. So thank you for coming. He is in California right now, right?
San Diego.
Yep. Phillip Harper. Yay.
Man, it is great to be here, sis.
I'm so excited. Thank you for doing this. I know you're running late, working, so I really, really appreciate you taking your time out of your day to chat with me.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
I see. Is that a Humboldt Park hat behind you?
Goddamn right. All day, every day.
I love it.
Twice on Sunday.
Can you take it down so we can see it closer?
Yeah,
so people can see it.
So one of the homies back home, he was selling his merch.
Yeah.
And, you got to be all about, taking care of your friends and your family, small businesses.
It.
So I got a bunch of his merch. I'll send it to you. I was supposed to have it with me right now to give him a shout out, but again,
I think I was on
Black People Time.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah, I think I have it on Facebook. But yeah, thank you. So what we're doing is, well, you said you caught up on some of the episodes, and I like to talk, although I know somewhat of your life, of your adulthood, because we keep in contact throughout all of these years, and we grew up in the same neighborhood. So I love to bring people from home on, and highlight people from back home because, not all of us have the same path, but we have similar paths. And you're one that made it out of the neighborhood. And although there was some statistics that you fall under, but not all, you broke some barriers and you made a life for yourself outside of the neighborhood and doing different things that many probably wouldn't even believe you've done or even think that you will be able to do it. So, yeah, do you want to tell us about yourself?
Yeah, so you definitely touched on it. In watching your inaugural episode, it dawned on me that when you're a kid, when you're an adolescent, you definitely take all of your cues from your parents, from your adult figureheads in your life, whether it be your teachers. Back in the day when we had respect for your elders, you follow their cues. And the thing that came to mind is that the first people to taught us not to be snitches were our fucking parents. And because I've seen a couple of the episodes, I know every once and again I can let a curse word slide. So yeah, our parents were like the first ones that kind of taught us like not to be snitches, whether they knew that or not, because I don't know if you recall saying this in your first episode, it was just like family business stays in the house. Mm-hmm. You don't talk about our family business outside the house. And, I credit this new generation for a lot of things that I wish we were able to do because we would have been able to heal a lot sooner in life and not carry a lot of this shit, whether it's going into our adult lives. And that thing is they air their skeletons immediately because they don't have anyone at home telling them they can't share their feelings. And as being 90s babies, we have to like tell our, our friends and our family, like, hey man, they're not a punk just because they're sharing to you how they feel. Like, imagine where you would be in life if your mom and dad, your abuela, weren't telling you be a man, you know, you're not supposed to be crying or doing any of that. So you and I could have been helping each other out in high school if we were fucking airing our laundry, you know, in the cafeteria instead of
Mm-hmm.
fucking around making beats on the cafeteria floor. I could have been like, yeah, man, I'm going through the same shit. Like, I go to sleep with a coat on in the winter. You know what I'm saying? We go to sleep with the fucking gas stove on in the winter because we couldn't fucking, you know, pay the bills and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and for me, as you recall, at the time growing up in Humboldt Park, it wasn't too many prietos living in Humboldt Park, you know.
Yeah.
So me and my brother Pierre, shout out to Pierre, it's his birthday today. Happy 42nd, bro. Um, like we were the few like black kids living in Humboldt Park. So yeah, there were statistics there for me. At the time there was some I wasn't so proud of. You know, I grew up as like the nerd, the ultra poor kid too on food stamps with a single mom. And, you know, I fell into the, you know, teen pregnancy category, you know, my junior, senior year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if it weren't for, you know, her parents and guardians, my mom kind of like sitting us down and telling us that it's nothing to be ashamed of and your life doesn't have to be put on pause because of it. Man, who knows where her and I would be at today? You know what I'm saying? So that foundation for us was huge to not, you know, deepen, you know, the quote unquote, you know, mistake that we made so
Right.
early on in our lives. And something that you alluded to as well, like in some of your first podcasts, education. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Yeah, we grew up in freaking the public of public schools
Mm-hmm.
where fucking Moses still had his like first original tag on my history book. I'm like, damn, that's Moses. You know what I'm saying? Like, why is this book so fucking old? You know,
Right.
we weren't putting brown paper bags over those books because we were trying to preserve them. We were putting brown paper bags over them books because we had to write what's actually on the book. Like, hey, this is my humanities book, yo. This is
Uh-huh.
my biology book. Because if not, it was so faded and decrepit. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, um, you know, we could have, you and I and some of the rest of us that came out of Humboldt Park in the West Side, we could have went a whole lot of different routes.
Mm-hmm.
And I credit to this day a lot of the teachers from like Lafayette, Chopin, Clementi, who actually did the work with our badasses because we gave them hell. I mean, we
I
gave
was
them
good.
hell. I
I don't know
mean,
about you, but I was good.
shit. When I say we gave them hell, I'm speaking for the entire '90s motherfucking populace. You know what I'm saying? We were fucking influenced by Wu Tang, Tupac, and Biggie, and we brought that shit into the classroom. You know what I'm saying? Like you couldn't tell us shit. We run around with our starter jackets, and we were doing what we want to do.
Oh
Like,
my
hey, this
God, our
ain't your lunch
starter
period.
jackets. Oh my
Hell yeah! Like
God.
this ain't your lunch period. Like I don't
Uh-huh.
care. You know, shit. Wu Tang Clan, motherfucker. You know. So, but yeah, man, freaking the education. We could have used so many excuses,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, and especially back then, man, like it wasn't. You were getting criticized for everything back in the day. You know what I'm saying? You too smart, you fucking nerd.
Yeah.
You stupid as hell. Like what's the medium, bruh?
Right.
You know, like what's the
You just
medium?
gotta be
You know,
average.
that's what I'm saying. Like you know, just like my three daughters, I would tell them, I'm like, look, man. I said, there's certain things I'm gonna do for you that wasn't done for me. One of which is, um, you're going to get good grades. But I'm also going to make sure that you dress properly and have everything you need so we can limit the shit you get poked fun about. It would easily go away if some grades start slipping though,
Mm-hmm.
because the one thing that I didn't want to do half the time is go to school because like fuck man, I wore the same outfit like 4 times already this week, and we only go to school 5 days a week. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Shit's embarrassing. Or my
Laundry
pants are
wasn't
flooded.
done. Yeah, you had to say something was
Yeah,
dirty.
you
Like
know what I'm
shit, am
saying?
I gonna wear that or do I gotta wash it by hands to go?
That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. Exactly. Shoes got fucking holes in them, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, I told my girls early on, like, yo, like people gonna make fun of you for whatever reason because kids are natural born assholes because they don't have a filter yet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of us adults are still assholes, but even so, back then, it's like they're gonna make fun of you if you're ugly. They're gonna make fun of you if you're cute. They're gonna make fun of you if you
Mm-hmm.
freaking are smart. If you dumb, just do your freaking work.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Do your work because at the end of the day, that's what you're gonna look back on. You're gonna be able to say like, that's fine. You made fun of me or whatever, but here I am, and there you are, and no judgment. Everyone is given the same opportunities in life to a certain degree. It's just up to you,
If you want
like
to
what's
take it or
what's going to
not.
be your motivation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody, I mean, that old adage, you can lead a horse to water.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's like when people say, "Oh, I don't know anything else outside of the neighborhood." That's not true. Like we grew up in that neighborhood, we didn't know anything outside of it unless we took the risk to go outside of it. So people make that excuse, and I get so angry. But then sometimes I had to think to myself, like, not everybody has my mentality, my mindset, and my willpower to go after a change. I know I didn't want to continue living like that. I don't have any biological kids, but my fur babies live perfectly fine.
yeah,
How old is your
yeah.
oldest daughter?
Man, Aaliyah is 20. If I'm, whoo, she 26, son.
20 what?
Six.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, homie. Yeah, yeah.
Does she have any
Yep.
kids?
Nope. None of my daughters want to have kids.
Oh, wow.
Shit, shit's expensive. They see how much I spend on their asses.
So you have her, the oldest one, and then I know you have two
Yep.
more. What are their ages?
Right. So I have the two that you met at one of the shows.
Mm-hmm.
Those are from my previous marriage. That's Alyssa and Kendall. So Alyssa, she's just like Aaliyah, she's about to turn 23 here on the 19th of February. And then my youngest, she's about to grade to turn 20 in August.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, man, all of them out the crib.
Oh, wow, Philip, you just aged yourself. You know that, right?
That's all gravy. We drink out of that same, Smith Park, Humboldt Park water spigot. I tell folks, they're like, "What's your secret?" I'm like, "Fool, I drink out the side of buildings, homie."
Right.
So
People
that's why I
nowadays
never
like,
got.
I wouldn't drink that. Oh, I used to just put my
Yeah,
mouth on open the thing,
that's
you just
right.
put your
That's
mouth
right.
there.
That's right. So I never called COVID.
Craziness, craziness. So,
That's right.
after high school is when you went off to the military, right?
Man, was not in the cards. That was not in the cards for me. I was doing this like mock trial competition stuff back home in Chicago with the school, and it was one of those things a lot of people didn't know that I was even doing until we
Mm-hmm.
had like the senior year awards assembly, and they called me down because I had won this freaking Illinois mock trial competition individual, blah blah blah. And they're like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm freaking doing this lawyer shit." And part of that award was I got issued like a partial scholarship
Mm-hmm.
to DePaul, and then I had an internship at City Hall. The internship ended up being some bullshit. They had me and some of the other folks that like won our like separate categories working in the damn mailroom. Yet
Mm.
we had to come dressed up for it. I'm like, man, get out of here with that. But yeah, it's like I no one in the hood, was in the military, so they couldn't really come talk to us about the military and like what to look out for. B, they definitely weren't in fucking college. So we definitely didn't have anyone talking about college with the exception of, the guidance counselors on each floor
Mm-hmm.
at the school, and they were overwhelmed with stuff as well. So they were just like get you in, get you out kind of thing. And so like me, a lot of people don't know the story. Like me joining the Navy was a mistake. Like it's not a mistake now, but it was a mistake then because I was going to find a way. I was working like 2, 3 jobs in high school that people didn't even know about because I had to stop playing football and shit.
Yeah.
When Aaliyah was born, and I was at my job at Navy Pier, and I'm looking for a new job because the owner told us like, hey, the seasonal work is slowing down, and we can't keep all of you because we just don't get that much money coming in. So I'm like, well, I don't need a tree to fall on me to know that I'm gonna be one of the first ones to get let go. And at the time, I was still working at Potash Brothers with some of the
Oh my
other,
God. Yeah, I remember
yeah, right,
that. Is that
right.
still in
And
existence? I don't even know, but uh-huh.
the last time I went to the crib, I want to say yes. And so I was like, well, shoots, man, I got to find something else. So I'm in the newspaper in the wanted ads that a lot of these little jokers don't know about these days. And,
Right.
and then I came across this ad that said firefighters wanted. And I'm like, what? You could be a firefighter at 18 in Chicago? Like, bet that. That'd definitely help me pay for the rest of this college, stuff. I called the number on there from work when I was at Navy Pier. United States Navy Recruiting Office, Petty Officer so and so. Click, and I was like, man, these old jokers, So I'm just still like swiping through. And the reason why I said click, because at the time, this dude that my mom's was dating, he was all like you guys didn't know a lot of this stuff back then because it was predominantly Hispanic in the neighborhood.
Hmm.
But for us, you see it in the movies now, but for us, we would hear like certain black men and black women be like, oh, the military ain't for black people and yah. I'm like, yeah, whatever, man. Get out my ear with that dumb shit. And
Hmm.
so that's the main reason why I hit click, because he was like feeding that BS in my ear,
Hmm.
and so if it wasn't for Star 69, I would never be in the Navy. Cause this mug, man, he was insistent on getting me in. Like what I didn't know then, what I know now is they have quotas to
I was gonna
make.
say they got
You know,
quota. Uh-huh.
they got quotas, and I'm calling this food 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. So it ain't a lot of motherfuckers trying to get into the military right before the holidays, and then the cold, nonetheless. So he kept calling. I was like, hey, man, you're going to get me fired. You can't keep calling my work. He was like, well, I'm not going to stop calling until you at least hear me out. So what's your home number? So I gave him my home number. And yeah, by the time I got home, because back in the day, my moms used to lock the phone up in the room so we wouldn't be running her phone bill up.
Yeah.
So the phone is locked up in her room. She got home from work before I did. And your parents' different tones of voice.
Mhm.
That Phillip, damn
Mhm.
what I do. Phillip, ooh, I'm about to be in for some deep shit.
Yeah.
That was the Phillip that I got. I'm like, and I was like, yeah, so I come in there and she was like, you got a voice message in here from a petty officer so and so from the recruiting office. And I was like, man, ma, I had to give him that dude the number. I'm nervous because I don't know how much she's buying into this dude she's dating, like, anti-military for black men and
Mhm.
shit. So I was trying to like reassure her, like, hey, my plan is still like to find something so I can pay to take advantage of this, partial scholarship. And so she sat me down and she was like, are you thinking about it? I was like, no, ma, like I just said, I just gave him the number to the crib so he can stop calling the shop so I won't get fired prematurely. And so she told me, she was like, me and your brother going to be fine. Aaliyah's going to be fine. Think about it. Roger that. So my mom's, she had me when she was in the army, and she didn't she got pregnant with me like early on in the army. Like she didn't even do 4 years
Mhm.
before she got pregnant with me, and she decided like the army wasn't a place that she wanted to raise a kid, and
Mhm.
so she got out before her 4 years because back then that was still an option. You can't do that shit now. You have a baby, you just have a baby. You got to like ride out your enlistment, and I took that for what it was, and I'm already dealing with grown man shit as a teenager with the kid already, and holding down 2, 3 jobs in high school. And so for about 3 days, like I'm carrying this around and like I set up the interview to go talk to him. Um, and the night that I came back, he had dropped me off at Potash Brothers. And, I took the bus home and I'm walking from Grand bus stop, like the Grand and Campbell,
Mhm.
stop, and I'm like making that walk back to the crib. And luckily, in the winter, motherfuckers ain't outside slinging or because it's
Mm-hmm.
too cold. So those are usually my safest walks,
Yeah.
back to the apartment. And by the time I got there, um, we had like 15 games for every 5 city blocks in Chicago. So I got to
Mm-hmm.
pass by all these like, little game sets and whatever. But one of the dudes that lived in my building, he was either a Hardy Boy or a Dragon or whatever. When they say God uses the least likely of people to like steer your life. Tell me why Jesus used the game banger to help steer my decision to join the Navy
Really?
of all people. Oh God, sis. Again, few people know this story, but I guess now your podcast, people know the journey.
Uh-huh.
Um, and he was like, "Yo, what's up, Phillip?" And I was like, "Oh man, nothing." He was like, "How was work?" Because we used to wear that fucking like hot ass red
Mm-hmm.
smock, so he seen it underneath my coat. I was like, it's cool. He's like, "What's wrong?" And I was telling him like about that, the decision about potentially joining the Navy and what my mom had told me, and everything that I was wrestling with and all of that. And I just remember him telling me like, dude, you one of the smartest kids I know. We proud of you for staying out of trouble because we know how it is around here. Yada yada yada. He was like, man, if you can do that shit, do that shit. He was like, everybody around here gonna be cool. Like if you're doing it for the reasons you're saying you're doing it to like better take care of, your daughter, your
Mm-hmm.
mom, and your brother, do that. And then I told him, I was like, man, it's like I don't know anything about the military. I damn sure don't know nothing about the Navy. I can't swim. Because that's the first thing come out of people's mouths when you say the Navy. Like, I can't swim.
Right.
Like, well, you should say that about the Marine Corps too. They do more swimming than we do. So I called the recruiter up and I was like, hey man, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. What I got to do next, and then the rest is about to be 30 years in history.
It's been 30 years.
It's coming up. Like I said, when I retire, I'm gonna be 2 years shy of 30.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah,
you
man.
before we started recording, you just say you were thinking about retiring. So
Yes, yes, yes. That you gotta listen to the signs. You gotta follow the signs, and I'm at the point where now it's just time to go. I still love what I do here, but it's just time for me to go and see what the next chapter holds for me.
well, at least in the military, being in the Navy, you have been able to travel and go places that many of us have not been able to do. Many of us have never even left the neighborhood, let alone, the state, and then go out of the country. So you were able to accomplish all of that.
Man, let me tell you. So I don't know if you know where I went when I first left Chicago,
Not
but
when you first left, but I know you were in
yeah,
Hawaii for a while. I also know you
yeah,
went to
yeah, yeah,
Japan,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't know.
So
And then you were in California. You've been in California.
yeah, so when I didn't even know where the hell when the recruiter was telling me where I was gonna go for basic training, he was like, "Oh, you going up 30 minutes away to Great Lakes?" I'm like, "What? What is that? I don't know what that is." Because again, like you said, like
We
I,
didn't leave the
I,
neighborhood.
right. I mean, I remember when my aunt paid for me, my mom, and my brother to visit her and her ex-husband in New York. And they
Hmm.
were in upstate New York because he, at the time, I may have been like 13 years old, and they lived in a place called Saratoga Springs, New York.
Hmm.
It's amazing what you remember at such a young age. But if something stuck with you, it stuck with you. But he was also in the Navy. Again, didn't know anything about it. Didn't even realize that we were staying on a Navy base because he stayed in Navy housing. I just knew that I was not in Chicago, and we took a Greyhound from Chicago all the way to Saratoga
Oh my
Springs, New York.
God.
Yeah, man, that was wild. But that was cool, But my mom's, we didn't have a lot, man, but we did. She did a lot with us. You know what I'm saying? People ask me like, why am I still so skinny? And I was like, maybe it's because my mom used to walk us all the way from Campbell and Augusta to motherfucking Buckingham Fountain on a regular basis because she couldn't afford the bus fare for all three of
People
us.
don't
You
believe
know,
me. Like my calves
I
and my
don't
legs
know,
are
man.
amazing. My legs are
Woo,
amazing.
man,
Amazing.
walking, son,
Yes, it's all
walking,
the walking.
walking.
Hmm.
walking. Like, even the homies, we would do it every once in a while too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that was dangerous because, you know, at that time, you know, we were coming from, you know, yeah, the gangs, you know the drill. You
Yeah.
know, the different routes you got to take,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and the colors not to wear. I mean, it got so bad you couldn't even wear white. You
Yeah.
know, some gang took on white. Like, what you wearing them colors for? Like, the
And we
fuck is
had
white?
uniform. Their last few years of high school, we had
Oh
to wear white.
man, that was some old bullshit.
You know what?
Especially
I
because
actually
I was,
liked it though because
yeah,
I didn't have much clothes, so if I was
yeah,
able just
yeah,
to wear white with blue jeans, then I'm
yeah,
good.
yeah. But that's around the time I was working, you know. So like my junior year and my senior year, I had a job, you know, and so I was able to get some clothes, you know, and like for me and my brother, because before that, man, shoes, like I was thankful for like Ace. That's my, you know, and some of the other friends like in the neighborhood, you know, boy Jose, Jennifer, Alexi, and all of them that lived in on the
Mm-hmm.
block because if I didn't have anything to wear, I just wear some of their stuff. You know what I'm saying? And you know how much bigger Ace is than me. You know, but luckily back then the baggy look was in, so it didn't
Right.
matter if I was wearing some big ass Emmett Smith jersey because that was a look back then. You know what I'm saying? Or some big ass Jabot jeans because that was a
Oh
look.
my
You know, the
God,
baggy
Jabot
look was
jeans.
there.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, freaking like things were,
So you
whew,
went to
things
Great
were different.
Lakes.
So yeah, man, freaking 30 minutes away. Got there November 3 days, whatever, November 22nd. It was 3 days before Thanksgiving, and that that changed my life. That was like thinking back on it now. It was like I tell kids when I talk to them at high schools and like universities, it's all mental. And unfortunately, that's one aspect that a lot of the youth nowadays, some of them, you know, I tell people all the time, don't use that hyperbole of all. Some of them, they don't have that mental toughness um, to deal with the things that you're going to deal with in a boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's a it plays with your mind at first because you go through some sleep deprivation, and you find out later on when in your career that that training comes in handy. That's why they have so many. That's why so many of us have sleep issues now because we've been sleep deprived our entire career for one reason or another. But my main struggle, it would, you know, family and being away from friends and all that. That was a struggle. But my main struggle was knowing that I was that close to home. It literally was 30 minutes away,
Yeah, I didn't know you were that
and I
close. I
was,
thought you had went away.
yeah, motherfuckers didn't even know I was gone for about 4 weeks. They were coming, Miss Harper, where's Phillip? Did he come out and play football? Baby Phillip is in Navy boot camp, and they were like, "What is that?" You know, because back home, most of your you know primos, they were freaking either in the Army or in the Marine Corps. They don't know
Mm-hmm.
about no Navy or no Air Force back then. They weren't. Navy and Air Force weren't coming to Clemente. You know, they were
Yeah,
just
I
trying to
knew
put us
about
in the
Navy
front
because
lines.
my
We need some.
I knew about the Navy because my
Mm-hmm.
uncle was in the Navy.
Oh, okay, I ain't know nothing,
Mm-hmm.
nothing. So yeah, man. So I'm out there. I get there and it's 3 days before Thanksgiving. And at that point, I don't even recall having Thanksgiving dinner. I think because I was so like, I think your first 72 hours, you're just going through the process. You're getting yelled at. You're taking all these shots. It's just shock and awe. You know, it's shock and awe, man. And we had people crumble like the first 96 hours. They couldn't even get through the first 96 hours, already sending them home. Um, and I don't recall having Thanksgiving dinner, you know, just because I was in that window. I was
Yeah.
in that shock and awe window. And then what I do recall, however, is shoveling snow on Christmas Eve because we had one of the worst. You could look this up. We had one of the worst snowstorms on record in '97 and '98, which
Yeah.
is the window I was in boot camp. So I'm out there on what we call snow watch on Christmas Eve, and there's freaking Amtrak's going by the freaking the base, and I'm just thinking to myself,
If I catch
there's a
it,
lot of
I
people.
go home.
Yeah, a lot of people go AWOL from boot camp. I get
Mm-hmm.
on this train. I can be at the things I'm familiar with doing. On Christmas Eve, like my friend Jennifer, Cynthia, and Jose's mom usually has a Christmas Eve party. I could be at the apartment, doing that if I jumped on this train right now. And then the kicker was having snow watch on New Year's Eve. I'm like, man, how I keep getting these damn shitty ass, watches. I want to be in bed sleep. But man, if I don't tell you that was God's way of mentally toughening me up for what was ahead,
Mm-hmm.
because those thoughts were running through my head. And I wasn't even a bad kid at all in school.
Mm-hmm.
I was a freaking nerd. I was as hard as I tried to not go to school, like my senior year, and please, I still was like, they're like, you don't need to take that class. You pretty much already graduated. That's why I was able to hold down those jobs.
Yeah.
So that wasn't in me, and I just kept hearing my mom in the back of my head just because of the way she raised me and my brother. Like, no, that's not. I'm not like that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I ended up graduating in '98, and then they send you to your technical school, and that took me to Mississippi, and as a black
Right. How
young
was
man,
that?
yeah, as a black young man in 1998 that watched Mississippi burning at way too young of an age, and that was just like living in my head rent free. I was like, man, I ain't want no Mississippi. they, they hang us in Mississippi. Like, what are we doing in Mississippi? There is no water in Mississippi. Why is the Navy in Mississippi? But it was cool, man. It was the start of learning, like, to deal with people's differences. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we were fortunate enough, like the people that I know now in the Navy and all the other branches of the military service, not all of them come from as diverse of a background as we did.
Mm-hmm.
I try to tell folks all the time, like, yeah, I tell you, you always meet my Hispanic or black friends from back home, but I had Polish, Ukrainian,
Mm-hmm.
like Italian friends, like that were up at Smith Park,
Yeah.
as well, or the people that I met when I worked at Potash, or the
Mm-hmm.
people that I met when I worked at
That's why I tell
Navy
people
Pier.
Chicago is such a diverse city, although there was segregated sections, but it was such a diverse city, and you learn so
Hmm.
much from that diversity. But that's if you wanted to surround yourself. I was surrounded by that when I started working in downtown, because
Yeah.
we didn't have that in Humboldt Park. It was
Nope.
blacks and Hispanics, and pretty much that's it. There's a few
That's it.
Asians in there,
Yep.
Filipinos, but other than
Yeah.
that, it wasn't anything else. Unless they
Yeah.
were
No,
coming in to
absolutely.
buy some drugs. That's about it.
That's right. Like, what
Right.
you
Like,
doing
you
over
don't belong
there?
here.
This ain't Evanston. What you
Right.
doing?
So with all of that, how was it with your relationship with your daughter though? Because then you were out and she was so
Yeah, that
small.
was
She was what? Like, was she even a year when you left?
yes. So her 1 year birthday, we had a party at one of the like one of the little halls or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember it. I still have one of the photos. I was wearing some like bright red Echo t-shirt with some lugs, boots, and she was like on my shoulder because it was a going away for me slash her birthday,
Okay.
her 1 year birthday party. And that shit was hard because her birthday is November the 1st,
Oh.
and I had already made up in my mind that I was leaving before that,
Yeah.
So yeah, that was rough, you know what I'm saying? And then, just because of like my situation at home, like my mom, she started getting into a good place with like working and having like a consistent job and stuff like that. And then I was also able to help with me working and stuff like that. So like taking care, like helping her take care of my brother and whatnot. So it was like all that stuff was like spiraling through my head, and then I get to Navy boot camp and I get my first paycheck. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? People don't realize, man,
In the
those
beginning, you don't get paid much.
bruh. At that point, I was just like, especially like a lot of us came from some sketch backgrounds,
Yeah.
and like a lot of guys, they did slang. I never like was in the gang or sold drugs, but like some of the guys that I was in boot camp with, they did. And it's like, man, I make this in 2 minutes. This
Mm-hmm.
this is ridiculous, And a lot of them, they were like they weren't about that kind of pay, and some of them they just start fizzling out, And I mean, it wasn't for everyone
Right.
because we tell folks that are thinking about joining the military, like you're not doing this to get rich.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying? You're doing this for a lot of other reasons. Getting rich is not one of them. Period. Dot.
Mm-hmm. So you went from Mississippi, then you went to other places in the world.
Then I went to Hawaii. I
Oh
went from
really?
Chicago.
How long were
I
you in
went from
Hawaii for? Because you were there for a while, right?
so so I was in boot camp for 9 weeks. Then they send you directly after graduation. They send you directly to your technical school if you have one. Not everyone has a technical school. You have a small one, but not like a lengthy one. Mine was another. So boot camp was 9 weeks, and then my technical school in Mississippi was 9 weeks. So I spent a glorious 9 weeks in Mississippi. Then after that, you get to take your first set of leave. I wish they'd told me this before that you burn through that leave real quick. So I came back home from Mississippi for like a week, to like spend time with the family and everyone before I I went off to Hawaii. So I will tell you this, that that one week that I spent in Chicago after I came back home from Mississippi before I went to Hawaii. Again, this is 90s Chicago, even though it was late 90s. Me and Ace were at the time. Ace had moved, so he
Mm-hmm.
moved a little further down Campbell, like closer, like to Chopin, and we were walking to his apartment,
Mm-hmm.
and the cops pulled us over. And I can't remember if they made us get on our knees or not. That part gets a little foggy, but I remember having to tell them that, like, hey man, I'm in the Navy. My ID card is in my back pocket if you want to check it. And they
Mm-hmm.
did, and they let us go. And I like he lives right here. We just going to his house. And at that moment, I knew I had made the right decision to leave.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way I want to deal with this BS.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what as I found out years later, you can still deal with that BS anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the color of your skin.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was like,
That's
wow.
why
Let's see what it's.
I tell people if you don't make it out, it's either you get locked up or you're 6 feet under. So, what was the choice for us? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's the reason why. What I found out down here in Florida that it's not elementary. It's what's the school? It's middle school. So you know how we have grammar school up in Chicago. Up in Chicago, it's
Yeah,
down here. It's
K through eighth,
yeah. Well, down here it's what's the first one?
K through 6th.
K to 6. What is that called? Elementary, then it's middle, and then it's high
Mm-hmm.
school. So for
Yeah.
elementary and middle, there's no graduation. I was like, there's
Yeah,
no
and some
graduation.
people, and some of them, places in Florida, because I was in Pensacola
Uh
when me
huh.
and met up with each other. Some of them have junior high, and that really blew my mind.
Yeah. So when it came to middle school not having graduations, I said, why wouldn't you have a graduation? I was like, in Chicago, there's graduations for it. They were like, well, that's probably because from inner city, that's the only graduation they may ever see because a lot don't ever
Damn,
graduate high school. I was like,
the
yeah,
shade.
but that was a real that was
But
it's
that's a
true.
revelation.
I was like,
Yeah, that's true.
wow, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
because we had when I entered Clementi, we had one of the largest incoming freshman classes ever. By the time we graduated, however, comma, we had one of the lowest graduating classes ever
Yeah.
because of numbers of reasons.
Yeah.
You teen pregnancies and they dropped out.
Mhm.
The unfortunate, killings, arrests, or just dropped out because I'm just like, this ain't for
It's
me,
not for me.
you
Yeah.
know,
Mhm.
right?
The
So I
streets
mean,
grab them, just like you said. Like your paycheck, people are making it in a
yeah,
day or just 2 hours or whatever. So it's the fast money.
yeah,
Fast money grabs a lot of
fast money.
people. Mhm.
Yeah, fast money has always been a driving force of like what are you gonna do with your life?
Mhm.
Even today, OnlyFans, TikTok,
I know.
Instagram, whatever,
Feet
all this
finder.
fast money that's out there, it's just masked under a different name.
Right. It's
I'm
true.
selling my feet on OnlyFans because I'm getting paid $1 million a year for it. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right. It's crazy. It's crazy. And then you had two more daughters. They were born in Hawaii, right?
So the oldest of me and my ex-wife, she was born in Hawaii because that's where I met my ex-wife.
Mhm.
She's from El Paso, Texas originally, and she was in the Navy at the time as well. And so we had our oldest daughter Alyssa there. And then when we left Hawaii, we spent 3 years in Hawaii. Hawaii forever changed my life because of the people that were in my life in Hawaii after I left home. They became my adopted, you know, family because even before Lilo and Stitch came out, I already knew Ohana meant family,
Mhm.
um, and they're still in my life to this day. And so I was on my way back home back in 2000 and 2001.
Mhm.
And then the Twin Towers, the Pentagon crash happened. Um, and that that definitely that changed the course of our lives, me
Mhm.
and my ex-wife, because like no kidding, we were making plans to I was going to go back now that I had the resources to go to law school.
Mhm.
I was going to do that because I was already going to school in Hawaii, where I ultimately graduated from. And so I was just going to come back to the crib, go to DePaul, get my law degree, try to become a lawyer because growing up, living downtown,
Mhm.
like my aspirations were to like be down there, with my motherfucking suit on, and just with my briefcase and doing the Chicago businessman lawyer thing. You know what I'm saying? But at that point, I don't want to say I had been brainwashed, but my patriotism had grew
Mhm.
at this point, and that brief 3 years of being in the Navy, because I think it was largely in part of because of where I was stationed at. I was stationed in
Mhm.
one of the most historical places on Earth,
Right.
not just the United States, on Earth. I was in fucking Pearl Harbor,
Yeah.
and so I am just inundated with like American history on a day to day basis. My office, like I had to drive over Ford Island, which houses the USS Arizona Memorial, which houses the USS Missouri. I'm looking at the all of the structures that were impacted by the Pearl Harbor bombing. I
Mhm.
mean, it was. How can you not at that
Yeah.
point just like no, like this is what I am going to do. I like these folks protected America during that war. It's now my time to do that. And I almost joined the Marine Corps. I was gonna let my Navy like enlistment expire, and then I was going to join the Marine Corps because I knew had I joined the Marine Corps, I was going to be able to go get some fucking kickback, some get back for
Mhm.
what happened to the Twin Towers. Like I already knew I wasn't going to be able to do that in the Navy,
Mhm.
like being on a ship or what have you. And then my ex-wife was like, "We just had a baby. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?"
Right.
And so instead, I just re-enlisted in the Navy, and that took us from Hawaii, um, January 2020 January 2002, and that brought me to the Central Valley of California, which is, if you're familiar with like Fresno, Sacramento, it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like in around that area there. And that took me to my first strike fighter squadron, which is what the aircraft that we use on the Blue Angels.
Mm-hmm.
Except they weren't blue; they were gray and ready to go and do some damage to
Yeah.
some bad people. And yeah, after that, that was it. There was no getting out the Navy at that point because I saw like the bigger picture and how even to today, how 9/11 has shaped the way we do things. Fuck, we still, if you don't have TSA pre-check and clear, you still got to take your goddamn shoes off to
Mm-hmm.
go in the airport. You still can't do certain things because of like the events of 9/11. We still kind of in the back of our mind, it's like, ooh, do I really want to go to that event because we don't know
Yeah.
if someone's going to be bold enough to do some of the same things that took place on 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of been my driving force, like being in the staying in the Navy as long as I have so far.
So, what do you see yourself doing after you retire?
So, so um, back when I went back to Hawaii after I left California, I got involved into a church, and I was really deep into the church when I was there in Hawaii. Met some amazing people, my family from that church there, and as much as I thought I might get out the Navy and just be like a pastor or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
my pastor, which he and we are like close. I remember one day we started doing security. I was also the head of the men's ministry. And I remember one day, one service, he and we were standing waiting for everyone to like get seated. And, I had my like little earpiece in, letting them know we were about to be ready to enter the sanctuary. He said, you know what? You would be good in the church, Harp, but you'd be better as a politician. This was
Wow.
this was this was this was like in 2006, 2007, and ever since he
Put that
put
there.
that on my
Uh-huh.
spirit, like like I have dreams. I can be in the shower, I can be driving, and I'm like going through like what my political campaign would be, what my stance is on this, what my speech would be for that, so on and so forth. And I never had that before he said those words. And it's ironic that some circumstances that have taken place over the last couple of months
Mm-hmm.
um, have kind of been like I was telling you before we came on air, have kind of been the signs that yeah, it's time for me to peace out, And the area that I'm going back to like that Lemoore, California, Sacramento, Fresno area. Just
Mm-hmm.
happens to be a stone's throw away from the capital of California.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. You know,
Oh
to be
wow.
continued.
That is
To be continued.
that's a shocker. I wouldn't expect that. But that's I'm just like
Yeah,
speechless with that. That's pretty dope. I
yeah,
hope it goes
yeah.
well
You
for
just,
you. Like I would
yeah, you,
root completely for that. Like I don't think
yeah,
anybody that get from Humboldt Park are like politicians. Like that's dope. I mean, I can be wrong. I don't know because I don't stay so up to
yeah,
it. But yeah, that'd be so dope.
yeah. I hope so, man. When I was on the Blue Angels, I they some of the former Blue Angels like that were of Hispanic descent
Mhm.
and who were black, they pulled me to the side and they would ask me, how am I doing? How am I coping with being the black guy in the blue suit,
Mhm.
going like through rural part of America? Because
Mhm.
you may have seen me, where were we at the Tampa show?
Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Mhm.
Ooh, that's a good show. Um, but we were in some places where I would have never like, I ain't going there,
But
you
Pensacola
know.
too, because Pensacola is right there by Alabama. You were close to Alabama where you were living at, right? Uh-huh.
Yeah, you remember? Yeah, you remember? We were like, you heard me say a stone's throw earlier. We were definitely a stone's throw from Alabama, man. We were Floribama for real, for real.
Yeah.
We were so close to Alabama that the people in Florida didn't even root for anything Florida.
Yeah.
I kid you not. They rooted for everything Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I heard so much Roll Tide that I was just like, bruh, I'm in Florida. What are you talking about, Roll Tide? You got the Gators,
Yeah.
you got the Seminoles, you got the Hurricanes, but y'all root for Alabama?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. The Panhandle is no joke. No joke. Hey, props for everyone that live out there. They're great people to me, but yeah, there's no way that I can be there, man. But but yeah, dude, freaking I it's just one of those things where you see enough to where it shapes your decisions on a lot of things. And
Yeah.
I've been blessed, been fortunate to to just have the Lord guide my path for me. And He guides all of our paths.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to you if you're gonna follow it.
Yeah.
You know, and I get it. Fear is a motivator
Mm-hmm.
for some people, and it's like but I mean, we have enough social media now. We have enough memes and people putting it out there
Yeah.
to kind of convict you. Like, that's you. You know that meme where it says, staying in your comfort zone is going to be your own worst enemy,
Mm-hmm.
and you still don't heed that advice.
I
You
always tell
know,
people I know what it is not to have anything, so I take risks because if I lose it all, I know how to rebuild again.
know how to rebuild again.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people like freaking out because, I didn't pay this on time, or oh, I'm in this debt, and I'm like, shit, who you don't know debt,
Right.
motherfucker, shit.
So we're
You got
coming up on time. So if there is any advice that you can give some young man out there, what would it be?
Oh man, if there's any advice I give any young man out there is follow your heart. Um, Listen to that small, still voice that's telling you to do the right thing. I used to have this saying, grown men have to do grown men things to make grown men salaries. Um, and I probably picked that up in a rap lyric somewhere growing up in the 90s. But it's a true statement.
Yeah.
You're not, that whole scare money don't make money. That can go a lot of different ways. But being an adult man sometimes, most times, mean making sacrifices. And if it seems like it's a shortcut, that's because it probably is, and it's
Yeah.
going to be no longevity to it. I've been in this now, again, coming up on close to 30 years, and again, like I started off, I didn't. No one gets into the military to get rich, but there are things that you can utilize to your advantage to maximize what's been given to you.
Right. And the other question that I always ask everyone, do you feel successful?
I feel successful, but not in a way that some people will probably define success. I feel successful that I have been in contact with great people.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in contact with great people, when you've built relationships, that's success, because if they're successful, you're successful because you can lean on them to help you out.
Mm-hmm.
You know me, I know you. If you need something, I know someone that can probably help you along the way.
Right.
But if you burnt that bridge a long time ago and I was some person that like held on to resentment and I'm now successful, I can't help you,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm petty.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I tell my daughters, just, and because my mom told me that you never know who you're going to come in contact with. That can be an angel. Treat them with respect. Treat them with kindness. You know what I mean? Even if they do seem a little off, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's God testing you to see how you're going to treat that individual. Are
Yeah.
you going to treat them any less than I would treat Janelle?
You're the second person, the one before the podcast the week before you, he said the same thing of him coming across angels in his life.
Yeah.
So
you never know how, like, in what shape or form they're going to come to you in.
Right.
So just always treat people, with love, kindness, and respect.
Yeah. Well, we have ran out of time. I want to say thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. Thank you guys for tuning in to She Who Thrives podcast, a podcast about women who have gone through different adversities. March is about men. Please like, share, review, and subscribe. Please review, because I am reading the reviews so I can see what content I continue bringing on for you guys. And thank you so much. Till next time.